Things go wrong and the bad guys want to kiss his girl. Dork is secretly the getaway driver. At this point, he has to fight for his life. As a result, this red car arrives at a bank. Now, one by one, we can see the faces of the men in the car. All of the passengers appear to be robbers. This also matters because the woman seems capable of winning my heart. But the driver, whose name is Baby and he looks like a baby, starts playing music on his iPod and the other guys get out of the car. They load their belongings into the bag while it is still inside the trunk. When a car passes by while a baby is having the lifetime performance in the car, he is brought back to reality. He sees this person rounding off when he looks in the bank. So he knows being showtime is about. He is now getting ready as his guns run out the bank. He gets in his car, reverses quickly, makes a sharp turn, and then he is on his way. But the police are following him, and he's losing pretty well despite having about 5 police cars following him. It is comparable to a city up here. The child is playing it truly cool to steering out of each and every risk. Then it reaches a place where he gets in 2 other red vehicles on the parkway. He enters the bridge completely and changes lanes with the car on the left, despite the police helicopter's eyes on him. Naturally, the helicopter missed that. So they actually believe he's the one in the center. They escaped in that manner. They discarded the red car in a parking lot, changed into new clothes, and the woman drives them away. Now that we know Duncan is sharing the money while Grip Acid Baby is retarded and rude, we see that maybe joining his walk with his earphones on is not how you want to do it after a big payout. However, I don't have a job, so how can I relate? He goes into a coffee shop and orders coffees before returning to where the other guys are. The R word, according to Doug, means slow, which means no reply. Doug claims that he is a good kid but a devil behind the wheel, and it doesn't let it rest. It sounds like he's still on the baby's underarm. You know, the guys leave Dr. Baby with the dogs in the car. The dog takes a lot of notes from all the bands there and heads over to Baby. He tells her to finish one more job. Now that the baby is at home, you'll understand better soon. He takes a lot of cash and puts it in an underground compartment in the living room. His foster father Joe, who died recently, is watching and might ask him if he's hungry. He always tells Joe that he made meat, too. When Baby brings the food, he asks him where he got the money from. He says it came from work, and he says we'll just do one more job and he's done. Baby goes to make breakfast, but Josie tells some of the news about a robbery suspect. Baby is told by Joe that he doesn't belong in that world. I know that he decided to make music from a conversation he recorded earlier because he wanted to play Baby sports later at night. He makes use of the phrase, Dr. Word, from Doc. Was he tardy? He sits back and takes in what he has accomplished because he does a pretty good job and is proud of himself. That places the tape in a bag with hundreds of other tapes that are similar to it. He at least knows what his next job will be. He chooses one of the tapes, and it takes him back to the car accident that killed both of his parents. Instead, he picks up his old iPod, looks at it for a while, picks up his phone, and heads outside. He is currently seated in a restaurant with a female waitress. Deborah enters singing a song with the lyrics, Bab Why Baby, and he quickly records that part while he looks at her use. When she enters, there is so much that he doesn't even notice when she walks back toward him. Find out what he desires. She is extremely friendly, if not overly so. If you're not careful, you might think she's flirting with you. While they are conversing, when she inquires about his occupation, the partner vibrates, stating that he is a driver. She then says that sometimes all she wants to do is drive west on Interstate 20 in a car she can't afford. Is jealous. She hasn't just heard her music. The road might say he likes that to the coconut blues and yell loudly to break up the conversation. Maybe just before she leaves, tell her how beautiful she is. This is not love at first sight. As she heads out, she is singing along to the same song. Try asking her about that song. The next thing we see, Joe buys the record and dances to it in front of his dad in the house. He hadn't even seen the girl, but I can tell how she makes him feel. He interrupts the fun by stating that he approves of the job. They have been given a new job, but they are stuck at the new location. He has introduced a new group of people who already know God, and the bad guys are curious as to why babies always listen to music. The dog tells them that they have to notice him because he has an accent from when he was a kid. He also says that he was always working past them. The bad guys then go over to the duck and ask him about David. David tells them that Baby has been dropping since he could see him. The dashboard tells him some of the basic things the boy has done. The following day we see the lawbreaker show up at the objective area someplace by the boundary. He also seems a little suspicious, as you can see. J.D. Thompson, the master batsman, and Eddie well Baby started, so they go to their thing and get back into trouble. Easy peasy. Addresses Baby starts driving home, and who suspiciously tries to stop that runs his car to theirs and even shoes for them is probably an ex-military because these revolvers and blocks here are some heavy stuff. They also have some heavy stuff. He escapes naturally because he is dealing with a baby, something he is unaware of. It's not easy, but the highway has seen it before. Now that you know who the military men are still to bats, he tries to shoot them and maybe stops them by swerving away from the gun. He then tries to do what they just did, but he quickly realizes he didn't obey the orders and crashes, so he might keep driving when they get stuck in traffic, and they all come down to steal the car from the traffic. That doesn't care that the woman is carrying a child inside. You continue to visit and use the car. While they are still in the car, JD mentioned that he would love to shop, but it would be a costly mistake to get to a parking lot. Instead, they switch cars and quickly split up. They arrive at the wrong location and might go get coffee, but he is not as upbeat as the last time he came back to find that JD has been made to go missing permanently. Next up, Child, a canine, take the backs of the ongoing canine, gives a chunk of change and lets him know he's undeniably paid off. He only has one more task to complete. End the ride with JD's bodies and quickly cut to the baby riding, crushing, and performing, taking him back to his younger years, when he saw his mother performing when she gave him his first iPod, when he saw her being beaten up by his father, and when the accident brings it back to the president. Also, he just plays a song because it gives the burglar his gloves, and he returns to the diner news with the ladies. The initial individual who spots Deborah Denver's coworker informs her that she believes the mother of the infant used to be employed at the same location. Deborah proceeds towards the coworker's table and initiates a conversation with him just before the conference commences. Their dialogue mainly revolves around music, and Debbie expresses her habit of collecting and preserving his records. It is quite evident that there exists a genuine connection between the two of them. Deborah asked her directly if his mother had previously worked here. He claims that she was also a singer at times. He didn't respond when she asked him what she does now. After you say a few more irrelevant things, they head to the laundry room. She enjoys the song you play for her, and as they talk, he tells her about his tinnitus and how it was caused by an accident that killed both of his parents. She tells a sad story about how her mother was also late and that she looked after her for a while before she died. In any case, after setting up a legitimate operation, we now witness BB at home, radiating with happiness, as he shares a little bit about Deborah with Joe. Joe proceeds to drop the amount of cash from Doug and informs BB that he's officially done now. Joe suggests that BB should get a job as a pizza delivery person, as it would be delightful to bring joy to people while driving. BB reluctantly agrees, and on his first delivery, the customer is amazed at how rapidly the pizza arrived. BB goes home, counts his money, and reminisces about Deborah. However, their good times are cut short when the winter comes and informs them that someone else has already taken care of the bill. BB wonders who could have done that, and the answer soon becomes clear. Don wants BB to work for him again, but BB refuses, and as a consequence, Don threatens to break his legs and harm those he loves. BB has no other option but to comply, which drastically alters his mood. Every time he returns home, his mother attempts to coax him into talking, but he cannot reveal what is going on. He is trapped in a perpetual loop of silence and secrecy, unable to divulge his predicament to anyone. This, without a doubt, is one of the few things that he can still do. After making plans for the following day, BB comes to pick up his accomplices, and they drive to the post office. The heist is scheduled to happen the next day, but BB needs Baby to gather information about the location, including the number of customers, employees, security cameras, and the security guard's arm. You know, all that stuff. Baby is advised to go home with his nephew Sam because it would appear less suspicious to have a little boy with him. However, Baby still struggles to take note of everything. Fortunately, Sam provides him with all the necessary information. Baby then purchases some stamps and returns to the car, and they are granted permission to dock after he drops Baby off at home. BB goes upstairs to see Doc and informs him that their original plans were cancelled. When Doc asks if he stopped driving, BB admits that he thought he did, but this is not what he wants. She did inquire about his desires, and he responded, "I want to head west on 20 Unicharm, which we can't afford with a plan so that we don't have to keep driving and never stop." "Yes, mister, she is who she is. As we promised, we'll see you soon." Hey, John shows up for the job. The new crews are a mix of the old ones, and then Buddy and Darlington appear to be one package. We spend some small time together before Buddy takes over the baby. They bond over, yes, you guessed it, music and fast cars by listening to a song together. This seems to keep Bass from driving because he thinks you don't need music to drive. Doug comes and interrupts the conversations. He needs to read out the plans to hit the post office as well as the tools they'll need today to pick up their guns. After the wall, we spent the night here, and they are off. Bass has begun to pull over in any case, that puts you right in the path of the pickup location. This small man was dressed in a cloth, and everything in my room was a cloth, as were a variety of firearms from your days as well. If you thought this would be a straightforward purchase, think again. Things very quickly light up as the first shot is fired, and the situation quickly escalates into a full-blown shootout. Donnellan receives a Pulitzer-winning companion, and it's possible that they need some clouded in best to save them from finishing the other guys. You're hollering at Bass now. He makes sense of that. He began shooting since he realizes a PD recollect the cases in clubs that the folks would make others dispose of one another. The man gets up and tries to run away from the Bass buddy, but the darling stops him in his tracks. They leave in a different car than they did when they came back. There was a grenade in the car, and the guy just tried to get out. They hit the highway as the baby's driving best tells him to stop when he's hungry, but the baby says no. Therefore, the car baby yells that he does not want to enter. We are all aware of the reason, but he is unable to explain it. He claims that it is more than just that the location suckers the bass notes. As a result, it indicates that the debris on duty may be maintaining a straight face and may already be aware of something off the beam by looking bent behind him. Deborah then arrives, gives orders that may or may not be exchanged, looks at him, and then leaves, which appears to be a friend with everything figured out. He tells him that he used to be a stockbroker, but he got caught up in debt and ended up in the criminal world. His expression makes it appear that it is raining. Try not to count someone down and lets us know that he assumes he knows them. However, he actually doesn't tell us that he doesn't want to see money. Rather, she tells us that if he sees red, he will only see black, like a beggar line badge. In response, he claps sarcastically. All of a sudden Deborah accompanies the beverages and she waves that says perhaps in the event that he realizes her you asked her like Peter to Jesus, and Best takes out his firearm to go shrewd perhaps more seasoned that says okay, advises him to take the pleasant lighter than later someone sweetheart understand thought this person said he was ravenous and perhaps strays into the red where he slides into napkin geo on the grounds that it says excursion to a court douche doc now it was great well. At any rate, the team makes a beeline for disappear and the main thing Doc says that he didn't hear the word bananas. He usually hears the words bananas and haga when his clients close a deal, but this time they didn't. So he's going crazy, and the Zega who says that as far as commerce is concerned, the doctor says that he knows they were his cops. Therefore, Bassam is the firefighter's first buddy who protects him. However, since it instructs him to acquire a tow outside of work, that is insufficient for dogs. Bennett claims not to be running, since he shot the fence that says, but he hasn't gotten what he says he does. He says they should drive into the dock store and inquire about where the defense funds are. For the baby, talk once a year. It states that his baby voted yes. But he looks at him suspiciously and says, babies, no, we're just going to end a conversation on his record. He then starts picturing himself with Deborah and says, back to reality in a matter of minutes to an arbitrator, but not so quickly. Of course, someone is waiting for him, but he didn't tell me that if he's just here for the boss or if driving is just a way for him to get away, he should leave and not come back. Maybe he said coffee, but he wasn't as smart as him. This seems like an excellent suggestion. Thanks, boss. Dear friend says that the best way to handle everything is to use the baby reporter, and he asks him why he was recording them. He has coordinates for a revolver that were phased out. He wants to know if he's a policeman. Because he likes to make music, he asked him to play with his recordings and told them they were all at home, so they knocked him out cold and went to get all of his recordings by the time he woke up. It's possible that he had already noticed how bad the streets cops were shaking. He is speaking in front of the entire crew, and his teacher, who has been thrown out on the dock, is asking Baby to explain why Joe is his only thought. Exactly what they did. Joe's wheelchair just released that. That doesn't look good. He now inserts the tape. It's the most futile one. Deborah Dolly Fingers is the one that Alexa did select. That diner girl is now asking him why he said he didn't know her. His friend asked him why he had been talking about them to Deborah. The doctor is fed up and tells her to take this fool back to Shiva. We will locate a different driver for tomorrow. The infant stands up and responds, no, you won't be getting a new driver. I've been on each occupation since we've met another driver tomorrow. I'm driving loves the energy, so perhaps it's back at work. We will never wait until the next day at the diner. When going to the post office, the crew and the road are a little hazy and muddy. Typically, they drop off at the entrance or at a basketball running back or base drops off while he is waiting in the car. He might see a woman approaching the post office. She might wave at him, and he might shake his head at her. She might turn and return to the police officer. When the guys get out of the car, Base claps the cop and they get in the car. The baby appears to be more than just quick behind the wheel. It is also very quick on its feet, covering a lot of ground under its cover. He tries to get away when he runs into a ball, gets dressed, and leaves. That does little, as the police officer continues to pursue despite being spotted. He is running as though he has stolen something. We did steal something, or at least he assisted others in doing so. He breaks into a car as soon as he leaves the parking lot. Okay, you've really lost here, and you should never have let him get in a car. Stand by a moment. Before he leaves the parking lot, this baby runs into the truck, which is not exactly a superhero. Guess who's in the truck? Buddy and Darling. They get out of the truck and try to get into Baby's car, but the police are already in a good spot to shoot them. They presented the beast by climbing Arland, and Buddy is firing. At this point, everyone, including Buddy, tries to flee, but it fails. So he takes the money bag that Donald Trump's card rolls off of and tries to get his iPod. Nobody shoots the poor person, though it's possible that an elderly woman steals her car. He doesn't just drive away and forget about his iPod. Before we could drive, he had to find the right song first, which took a few seconds. Once he did, he turned her back to him, drove home, got the gentleman's phones for the entire house scattered, grabbed his balls of cash, put them in Joe's jacket, and called those diners. He just tells him to tell him that Baby's come in because the code picks him up. He hangs up, grabs his iPod. He obviously has a lot of these, and carries Joe to the car. He uses a different car, not the one he came in, to convey to the Western everything he knows about Joe as a baby. In his comeback, he says he doesn't know Joe again, but Joe tells him to take care of Deborah, who is interested in a chapter from the Atlanta Police Department. He may even get away just in time. He doesn't appear to be arriving for his baby at those diner babies here. But he's here for him just in the phases of Darling. The bathroom that was shown on the television as a robbery was confirmed at what he says a few things about Darlene and points his pistol at Deborah. Yes, maybe if you answer that, but he says that's too bad that a cop car arrives outside of the police just want to use the bathroom, but he motions the baby to sit beside it. He hands one of his buds to some babies and plays it for a brief moment. He removes the headphones and informs the baby that the song has ended, but he must still face the music. Okay, that actor is excellent. He claims that whenever he comes out and is inquired about how things are going, his buddy either shoots him in the chest or grabs Deborah in his cage and drags her out the back door of the comfortable car and into the restaurant, telling her to leave, or shoots him in the chest. In the meantime, Buddy is not going down. Perhaps he takes the carpet with him and calls his dog to inform him that he requires his own dog tags. Deborah asserts that the baby requires only one thing before they leave. Then there would be nothing but that road music. When she says they don't even have a car, a charming red Mustang pulls up. It would be a go, so we took control of the car that he would never enter and drove off. We get to a parking area and stuff. If he approaches me, Doug will tell him that he requires those tears, Deborah says with all her heart. Doug claims that he won't give anything, but maybe he has money orders in the back. He is carrying a tray that holds just one of the tapes in the bag. Darksteel says that he seems to change his mind when he sees that recommendation. He falls into the elevator and tells him to skip out, so I know he knows how to complete the tasks. It gives them a bag of money and says that should be enough because he was not our loved one and was being so kind to us. As the door to the elevator opens, 3 men are firing at them, they see. Doug tells them to run away while he looks after them to prevent them from being shot down, so maybe he's looking for debris to check on him. He said, I thought I told you to run. A cop car now arrives and tells them to leave, and he turned to them. Together, we'll deal with the police. Those guys really got through everything, buddy. Remember that other time someone and baby became close, but he plays it from the car and cranks it up to the highest volume. He says that maybe it's his killer track that they didn't get along with, but he easily runs him over, hits another car, reverses, and comes crashing down tomorrow. Maybe he uses that opportunity quickly to pick up a car key from the floor. After that, he takes the gun out of his pocket and fires it at a friend who is renting his car. He kills the friend, but the friend is really good, so we got in the car and watched as his body hit the wall, maybe deeper, then got in a car where the two cars are now racing against each other. It's possible that he is reversing and nobody is facing him. It's also possible that he is getting ready to slam into the car, so he takes off his seatbelt and tells Deborah, "We're getting out, we have to end this by the time Buddy has gotten himself back." Deborah and the child are the only ones who left the vehicle. He looks at the carpet. He is not aware of them. He's cruising all over calling out for child that he sees never remaining solitary. She just said, now out of nowhere baby shows up in a trunk and drives into Buddy's car pushing it over the railing. He gets dressed and leaves, but he doesn't know if he will become Carboni downstairs or come out of the car and tell him he did good, but he took something he loves. Therefore, we must perform this. Naturally, you are aware of what that means before he takes Deborah, when he decides to remove the baby's hearing first issue so close to the baby's ears, when the baby is holding his ears, and where they get paid on the floor or before. However, while he is attending to Deborah, she takes her bra out of the car and begins hitting him with it. He then goes to take Deborah. That provides sufficient distraction for the infant to select a revolver and clap Buddy with him. He shoots at his buddy, and in the end, Darkness falls in love with the vehicle, which explodes. The next thing we notice is a car filled with morning debris and a baby in the front seat. Debbie is playing tag with his mother as he just woke up, and it looks like they will live happily ever after. When they reach a bridge, police block it. Deborah tries to reverse quickly, but baby brakes. He takes out the key, tells her she doesn't belong in this room, and leaves with his hands in the air. The police arrive and take him away. He is then shown being taken to jail, and we are here to discuss him in court. After her, we see the elderly woman whose car he stole the returner's purse, followed by the other woman we chose to go with, and Joe. My knowledge of the law isn't very good, but I think they're all acting as character witnesses anyway because job sentences after 25 years are subject to parole hearing after 5 years served, so I guess it's not that bad. Perhaps Deborah will send us a letter while she is behind bars. It's patriotic sentiments and sweet language. She claims that she can't wait to meet the devil. Only the two of them are playing music in the road. Quick forward a little and it appears to be his fantasy is at last materializing. The moral of the tale: this movie's least believable scene is love at first sight.